Trigonometry, exercise 9.1. Okay, what it says here is sine equals 7 over 25. Find as a fraction the value of cos theta and the value of tan theta. Here's what you do. Sine theta is it belongs to a right angle triangle. Now, the thing is with what is sine, cos and tan exactly? It's what's called a ratio, okay? So basically what sine means is opposite over hypotenuse. So katoa. Now what this basically means is that it's going 7 is the opposite, 25 is the adjacent. Now just quick things here. Because 7 is smaller than 25, I know my answer will be an acute angle. This has to be below 45. So below 45. Another thing about sine is it's a ratio. It doesn't necessarily mean the length is 7 and 25. It just means the ratio is 7 to 25. So can anyone in the class give me an example of another triangle that has the same ratio as the triangle to the left? 14 and
50.
It's the most obvious choice. Or 21 and 75. Shame. Okay guys. Now this is the angle theta here. Okay? And so what we're going to do is to find cos. Oh, sorry. Excuse me, one thing. Sorry. That sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So technically that was 25. And if it was to do it again, that'd be 14 and 50. You get the gist of it. It's just a ratio. It isn't exactly the lengths. Okay. So now that we know that that's 5 and 7. What we're going to do is Pythagoras' theorem to figure out what the side x is, okay? So we're going to say is 25 squared equals x squared plus 7 squared. Then bring it over to your side. X squared equals 25 squared minus 7 squared. What's 25 squared minus 7 squared, anybody?
576.
And what's square root of 576? 24. So its length is 24. Now that we know its length is 24, what we can now do is find out what sine, cos and tan are by doing this. We know that sine theta is 7 over 25. We know that cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 24 over 25. And tan theta is 7 divided by 24. Okay, so that's the three of them. Theta is the angle. Alright guys, show that cos squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Okay, well cos squared theta is 24 over 25 squared. And then sine theta is 7 over 25 squared. And that has to equal 1. So what we're going to end up getting is, it's going to be 576 over 625 plus 49 over 625. Equals 1. Add them together, you get 625 over 625 equals 1. 1 equals 1. Proven. Okay, who got that out? Not too bad. Yes, Connor? Triangle ABC, the angle ABC is 90. If it's a 90 degree angle, it obeys Pythagoras' theorem. Find AC. AC is the longest side squared, which equals 1.5 squared plus 2 squared. What's 1.5 squared plus 2 squared? Anybody?
25 over 6.25.
6.25. Square root it. And we get AC equals?
5 over 2.
2.5, okay? 5 over 2. Perfect. Find the angle BAC. Now, what I always do is, I always tend to use the sides I started off with originally. The reason being is, if I made a mistake on the 2.5, at least my next answer won't be affected. So, what I'll do here is this. I'll say BAC is this angle here. I'll call it X. Tan X equals opposites, which is 1.5, divided by adjacent, which is 2. Then X, therefore, is tan inverse 1.5 over 2. What's tan inverse 1.5 over 2? Sorry? 37 point?
36.86.
36.86, thank you. Okay, 36.86 degrees. To the nearest degree, 37 degrees. Okay guys, these are very standard, okay? This needs to be your bread and butter by the end of the day. Okay guys, next one. Assign values A, B and C to the lengths of the sides so that A is 90 degrees, okay? So A, B and C, I'll cut out B obviously, alright? If I want this to be 90 degrees, it has to obey Pythagoras' theorem, okay? I'll make up two numbers at random, where I won't think much about them. 8 and 10. I'll say C equals 8, B equals 10. Now I can't just make up a value for A. I'm going to make a mistake for you right now, alright? And I want you to see if you can spot the mistake. If I say that's 17, what's the problem? Oh, sorry, not 17. If I say it was 20, what's the problem? The line, the longest line is longer than the other two lines added together. It won't join up. Therefore, the numbers I wrote on the board cannot form a triangle because 20 is longer than 8 and 10 added together. That's a problem. Okay. Another problem is if I make up a number at random. If I make up the number, let's say 21. Well, that will work. Oh, sorry. It won't. Yeah. 21 will work. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me for a second. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. When this line is longer than the other two. So as I said earlier, when this line is longer than 10 and 8, 10 and 8 can't join each other to make up 20. Do you got that? Alright. So the number in question has to be lower than 18. If I was to put in something like 14 here, that makes a triangle, but it may not necessarily make a right angle triangle. So to ensure that we're making a right angle triangle, here's what we have to do. We have to do a squared equals b squared plus c squared, which is going to give me a squared equals 10 squared plus 8 squared. What's the square root of 164? Sorry? Or in insert mode, just press change for me.
2 square root 41.
Okay, so if I say a equals 2 root 41, now I know that the angle in question is in fact 90 degrees because it obeys Pythagoras' theorem. Okay, Pythagoras' theorem can also be used to prove that two lines are perpendicular to each other. Now, the next thing is construct a triangle where A is smaller than 90. Well, pick a number that's smaller than 2 root 41. What is 2 root 41 again in decimal, sorry?
12.80.
12.80. Pick the number, can't pick 10 because we already said that B is 10. Oh, sorry, we could do. Just pick any number that's bigger than, that's smaller than 12.4. So if we say this is, 10 as well. What type of triangle do I have now? Technically, it's technically isosceles, okay? And the angle A is opposite one of the tens, and we've just had to prove that this is an acute angle. Now, if it wants it to be bigger than A, if it wants it to be bigger than 90 degrees, what do we have to do? Smaller than 18, but bigger than 12. So call it 15. 15, 10 and 8, angle A. And that will do the trick for you there. Okay, so A equals 15, B equals 10, 8 equals C. Okay guys, moving on. Number 23. Now, from the boat at sea, the angle of elevation of top of a vertical cliff 200 meters above the sea level is 14 degrees. Then the angle of elevation, after the boat sailed directly towards the cliff, the angle of elevation of the cliff is found to be 28 degrees. How far did the boat sail towards the cliff correct to the nearest meter? Okay, we are looking for this here. Okay, now what we can do is there's two different techniques for this. Okay, so I'm going to show you we're going to break it into two right angle triangles. Okay, so the first right angle triangle is going to be the small one. So I'll just get something more fitting to the size. This one here, okay. That one's the small right angle triangle, and this one here is the. Sorry, I'll change that up. It's not correct. This is the larger right angle triangle, okay. So what we're going to do with both of them is I'm going to figure out the length X, and then I'm going to figure out the length Y. And how do I find the length Z? which is what I'm looking for in the question. Y minus x is what I'm looking to do. Okay, y minus x. Okay, I know that this is 200. I know that this is a right angled triangle. I know that this one here is also 200. It's a right angled triangle of 14. Now, I'm looking for the length x, but I know that this is 200. So relative to the 28, 200 is the opposite, and x is the adjacent. Opposite and adjacent. Write down your rhyme, and then figure out which one has opposite and adjacent beside each other. Tan 28 degrees equals 200 divided by x. Cross multiply the x up, and we're going to get x tan 28 equals 200. Now please remember, in trigonometry, the two of these cannot be separated. They can only be separated by using tan inverse. They go together everywhere. You can't just bring out down the 28 on its own or the tan on its own. Everybody got that? Cannot bring the 28 down on its own or the tan on its own. Then what we're going to get is x equals 200 divided by tan 28.
376.
X equals to what?
376.14.
376.14. Okay, that's quite large, but yeah, it seems right. It's in proportion because 28 is smaller than 45, which means that the adjacent is bigger than the opposite. So I would be inclined to think we're correct. Okay. Now that that's done, what we're going to do next, we're now going to work off this one, and we're going to do this in purple here. Now, what sides do I have here? I still have opposite and adjacent. Tan 14 equals opposite, which is 200 divided by adjacent, which is what? Y. Cross multiply again. It's best just to move that one up and that one down. One go. And you get y equals 200 divided by tan 14, which is
802.16.
802.16. Now how do I find out what this distance here is then?
Minus.
Subtract the 2.
426.
So when I take the two of them away, y minus x is going to be what you say?
426.
It's not round off to nearest meter, is it? Yeah. It'd be 426.02, would it? And then it'd be then 426 meters. Okay, perfect. So guys, hard way of doing that. Now you could have done it using the sine rule as well, but we haven't covered the sine rule yet. So you suspect that the question could be done by right angled triangles. Okay, let's move on. Any other questions?